Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Our last author for this session, Dr. Theresa Wee, a pediatrician, wellness expert, and inspiration for all. She's a dedicated pediatrician, wellness advocate, and mother of four. With a deep-rooted commitment to improving the health of her community in Hawaii, Dr. Wee founded the nonprofit organization Walk with a Duck Ohio 8 years ago. Through his initiative, she conducts free weekly walks, empowering her community to lead healthier lives. But Dr. Wee's impact reaches far beyond her community walks. As an accomplished author, she has penned 2 best-selling books and continues to educate families through regular appearances on television and radio. However, it is Dr. Wee's personal journey that truly sets her apart as an inspiring figure. After experiencing the sudden and unexpected loss of her husband and business partner, Dr. Stephen L. Wee, she courageously shares her story and the lessons she has learned along the way. Her resilience and determination to thrive regardless of circumstances have made her a source of inspiration for many. In her latest book, My COVID-19 Diary, Dr. Wee reflects on the global pandemic that forced shutdowns across the world. Through daily blogs and social media posts, she offers valuable advice drawn from her years as a pediatrician, wife, and mother in how to navigate challenges times. Moreover, she shares her faith in the ways in which God has supported and sustained her through life's trials. Within the pages of My COVID-19 Diary, Dr. Theresa Wee guides readers on a journey of resilience, perseverance, and growth. Each day, you will find inspirational scriptures to uplift your spirit and practical strategies to help you cope with the challenges you may face in your own life. If you seek guidance and motivation during these uncertain times, Dr. Wee's book is a must-read. Discover the power of keeping faith, moving forward, and thriving with God by your side. Grab your copy of My COVID-19 Diary today and embark on a transformative journey towards strength and hope. Please welcome, for the author of the hour session, Dr. Theresa Wee.
Well, hello, book storytellers and book lovers and just people all over the world. Listen, I am Tish Barnhart, the author of So You Want to Be a First Lady. Listen, I want to welcome you to the grandest online book fair event of the year, the Festival of Storytellers, Season 5. So listen, I want you to like, subscribe, and follow. We're streaming on all social media outlets right now. And don't forget to share. So listen, I have the privilege of interviewing today, personally, Dr. Theresa Wee. So let's welcome her to the stage, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Tish.
Hi, Dr. Theresa. How are you today, my friend?
I am wonderful out here in Hawaii.
Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous. That's on my bucket list to attend Hawaii soon. So I'm going to come out and make it a must to visit you in Honolulu. Well,
Yes.
well, I want to congratulate you once again on your accomplishments with your book, My COVID-19 Diary. It is my pleasure to be speaking with a doctor today, that has some insight and wisdom as it relates to our health. So I want to get into a couple of questions for you today, Dr. Theresa.
Sure.
So what is the most fulfilling part of being a wellness advocate?
I wanted to become a doctor ever since I was, believe it or not, 8 years old.
Okay.
It was back in the 60s, and I did not even know of a woman doctor, but I had read an autobiography of the first woman doctor. And I announced to my parents, this is what I want to be. I want to be a doctor. And, it was just something that I think God just put it in my heart. And, I'm just human. It was a long and difficult struggle, but I made it. And but I do like to encourage our young people, and I still mentor many of our high school and pre-med students.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. And, it's funny that you mentioned that you felt like you wanted to be this doctor since you were 8 years old. And I believe that the gifts and the talents that we have, I believe God gave them to us at birth, and some people actively start walking in them at early ages. For example, my oldest son plays drums. And when he started crawling around, he would crawl in the kitchen, pull out the pots and pans and start beating on everything. Or he would take straws or hangers, the little wooden part, and tear them in half and just beat. So, it was evident that he was going to become what? A drummer, right? And so that's what he does today. And, so many of us do walk into those things very, very early on in life. And so, hey, you're doing it now and from 8.
Well, I wanted to tell you that I've always enjoyed sports and staying fit and healthy. And I was just so happy to go into pediatrics, because essentially pediatrics is really a wellness. We're trying to educate parents, and empower them to do the best they can to raise their children to the fullest potential. So everything aligns with my specialty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to get into some more of that specialty as well. And, awesome job. I saw one of the comments that came up saying, look at all of those accolades back there. So all of the awards and everything that's behind you definitely speaks of who you are today. And so an extreme, extreme accomplishment, Dr. Wee. So I have another question for you. So any frustration or any disappointments, that you've had as a doctor, and how did you overcome it?
One of the things that really continues to frustrate me is our healthcare system right now is a sick care system. I do not get paid for talking about how to prevent illness, talking about parenting and helping people in wellness. We're so good at taking care of extremely sick people. We can do heart transplants, and we can save people from heart attacks. But my frustration, and it continues to be a frustration, and I talk to insurance companies about this, we need to flip it around. We need to reward physicians for the education and really encouraging people towards wellness and prevention.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Dr. Wee. And, I find that you're very rare, in terms of really wanting to put information out there, to help us prevent something rather than being reactive after it has happened. And then now you got to go and do the surgery, right? So I really appreciate, you saying that today, and absolutely wanting to be able to provide, us with some preventative measures. I think that goes along a long, long way. And so like, started and we were talking backstage, that I'm a person, I love to look at a natural approach, and what type of things can we put in our bodies that will help us not to go into these areas, not to have the diabetes, not to have the heart issues and problems and things like that. And with you being a pediatrician, it starts at a young age, because there's so many young people walking around, children that have been diagnosed as obese, that have, these issues. And so I'm so glad that you're doing that today. And so,
yeah, and really, we are, the Surgeon General has said that the American pediatric obesity crises in all ages is our number one health crisis right now. This is going to be the first generation of children who are going to be more unhealthy than their parents. We used to see chronic illnesses like fatty liver and high blood pressure and high cholesterol only in adults, but now we're seeing it in children. Wow. And again, a lot of it is really not our kids' fault. It's not even our family's fault, because look around us. We have technology around us. We have a fast food joint at every corner. With this economy, it's just, people are working 2 or 3 jobs trying to pinch pennies. So my heart is there. I raised 4 children while working full time, 6 days a week. My husband was an internal medicine doctor.
Okay.
It was a big struggle to juggle everything all at once and to try and do a good job. In fact, at the age of 40 years, my 4 children were under 10 years of age, and I couldn't, for 1 year, I couldn't sleep. I was losing weight. And that was the first, I had to actually self-diagnose myself in my first depression.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I looked at the 5 criteria and I told my husband, who's a doctor, and I said, I know why I'm not feeling well. I'm depressed. And he did not even see it. I went to see a psychiatrist, and really within a month, after therapy and counseling and some antidepressants, I slowly started feeling myself. When I look back on it, the silver lining is I think I understand where people are coming from with anxiety, depression. I think it's made me a better doctor, a better person in terms of my empathy for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it does. And, I definitely appreciate you today. This is some good stuff, so I know that those that are viewing and listening to us today can certainly appreciate, your candidness, as well. Some doctors aren't always as open, about our healthcare system. And I even saw a comment that came up as well. And let's see, Andrea Richards says, other than the pandemic itself, what were the challenges you encountered when creating your book?
So, believe it or not, I had already written my first book, which I'll talk about later. But when COVID hit us, we went in March 2020, we went into lockdown, and I said, I need to keep in contact. I like to journal. So I decided that I was going to write a daily blog. And I did this for 1 month. I put it out there and I asked my readers, is anyone reading this? And so many people from around the world were actually reading my blogs and told me not to stop. And so I continued it until December 31st, 2020.
Wow.
And lo and behold, the publisher of my first book said, Theresa, you really need to publish this book. And I really didn't want to write another book, but I thought, it's already written. I just need to compile it. But it was a lot of work. It was a lot of editing.
I'm sure it was.
But I do think that it was really worth the effort, because I have had people who have read it and come back to me and said they keep it at their nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're going through, it doesn't even have to be COVID. It could be any challenging times. You can open the book up to any day and just flip through whichever subject seems to appeal to you. But I've always ended the blogs with a favorite scripture that I felt comforting for me. And I tell people, if you believe or not believe, these words give you comfort, and they help me. So perhaps it might help you as well. And so I'm really, really happy that my COVID-19 diary has helped many people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm telling you, that was a very, very trying time, for the world, not just the US, but for the world in general. And, so many people losing loved ones and, being so afraid, for their lives and different things like that. And so here we have a book, your book, in fact, that provided some hope for those that were out there. And so the blogs, that you were posting every day gave life, to people when they didn't have any hope.
Even though the pandemic is over, we're seeing the after effects.
Yes.
I would say 50% of mental health issues right now stem from the pandemic, especially in our youth and teens. Terrible pandemic, and we don't even have enough resources to refer people to. I think the isolation and just being fearful of being out there really has caused quite a bit of damage to many, many folks. And so I see that a lot of my readers are seniors, because I'm trying to give them encouragement to not become isolated and to reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, most definitely, it hit our seniors, really, really hard. So no doubt your book and your blogs and everything, did not help them. We have a comment here from Orville D. Lynn. He said, the COVID-19 pandemic was the worst. How did you manage your time during the pandemic?
Well, I again, as I mentioned, every day I wanted to come up with a blog, but every day I never ended the day without saying, oh, what am I going to write about? Because I was still opening up my practice. I had to dive into telehealth, virtual visits. I had to continue running my office, trying to keep the business afloat. You really had to be open to adapting new techniques. And you had to be resilient in order, so many of my colleagues at 50 years of age, they said, forget it, I'm quitting. So I'm happy to say that I survived, and we even thrived, I think, during and after the pandemic.
Well, I know it was a lot. And so certainly I, of course, was aware that, you guys started doing the what did you say? Telehealth. Telehealth. And so I often wondered, I was like, how in the world are they going to diagnose somebody at home? So can you tell us a little bit about that process for those that have not experienced a telehealth call, or what that entails?
We see the patient virtually, but of course it's not ideal, but at least we're able to reach out, and especially for mental health issues. Of course, I wish I could touch the patient and really look into the ear and listen to the lungs. So we're pretty much back to normal now. But again, because of the multitude of mental health illnesses, there are people, we still do a lot of telehealth visits. And I think just like with virtual meetings, we see the advantages, and it pushed us into virtual meetings. So for me, the pandemic was really quite busy for me. I never found myself at a loss. And I, with my husband and I, we really tried to continue to exercise, try to get outdoors, and, just, FaceTime my children and grandchildren.
So Dr. Wee, did you find a little pushback, I guess, from maybe people that didn't want to do the telehealth, that preferred to be able to be in the office, or
Yeah.
how was that process for you?
Well, it depended. Some people wanted in person, so
Mm-hmm.
we would mask up, and
Mm-hmm.
we would still see selected people in the office. So
Mm-hmm.
so we still continued. It was after about a month, it was business as usual. But of
Okay.
course, with the little babies and children, I had to still keep seeing them for their well child
Mm-hmm.
visits and vaccines.
Uh-huh.
So those were things we had to continue.
Right, right. Well, I'm certainly glad you guys weathered through that and was able to do that as well. So I've got another question for you. So, as a best reward, as a person what is the best reward for a person who's promoting wellness to your community like yourself? What's the best reward for you?
You know, as physicians, it's difficult. You go day to day, and sometimes I see my families, and I talk about obesity and wellness, and then they come back and they gain even more weight. But I sometimes I feel that maybe what I'm doing does not make a difference. But I've been in private practice now for 40 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I I have many of the babies I took care of, bringing their babies into my office.
Wow. Okay.
And soon I'll be seeing the third generation. So I turned 70 this year.
No kidding. No
Wow.
kidding. You look wonderful, Dr. Wee.
Thank
I need
you.
some of what you own over there, okay? So I can look that good at 70.
But what I'm saying is, I try to live how I preach.
Mhm.
And I tell people that, it's so nice when people, it's nice when people come back and say, Dr. Wee, we took your advice and our children grew up and they're doing great. So if a doctor touched your lives in a positive way,
Mhm.
go back and thank them. The only time I hear from people is if they are upset, and 1% might be upset with you. And so for months, you just keep that one person in mind.
Mhm.
Our brain will just go to that. But then there's 99 other people that you help tremendously.
Right. Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
have now 10 employees and I have
Oh,
2 other
wonderful.
providers.
Oh, wonderful. That is an extreme accomplishment, Dr. Wee. Everybody on here is saying you don't look 70. Okay, we got QR in the background here saying, how do you manage looking young at 70? Audrey Bell says, what? You don't look 70? And I think I saw JP on there too, making a comment saying something about you being 70. Wow, 40 years in practice. Congrats. And thank you for your service. That's what he said. Dr. Wee, bravo. Clap, clap, claps.
But I did want to talk to you about my first book.
Okay, well, go ahead.
So, I started practice in 1984. So I went to UH undergraduate school and the UH School of Medicine. And I did it together with my first husband. He was like a brother to me. I kept trying to set him up. He was my ride home. I didn't have a car. We got to know each other so well. So after 8 years of friendship, brotherly friendship,
Okay.
he turned to me and he said, I think we should go for it. So I'm looking at him and I said, go for what? Ice cream?
Right. I was like, go for what?
He said, no, I think we should get married. And I told him, I said, oh my God. He said, this is what I said. Oh, that would be convenient. I can't believe I said that. But we got married. We went off to Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And he did internal medicine and I did pediatrics. And
Okay.
we lived there for 6 years, far away from Hawaii. And I had my first baby there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that pull to go back home.
Okay.
So eventually we did head back home. We started in a rural area and we put up our shingle. And the first day, one person walked in, and my husband was the best internal medicine doctor. He was such a leader in the community. And so in 2010, we celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
By then, our 4 children, the baby was 21 years old.
Okay.
And for the first time ever, we took 2 weeks off, and I went to China to retrace my roots. We came back, and 10 days later, on June 11th, 2010, at lunchtime, he says, honey, I don't feel good. And I said, oh, it's because I'm going to go heat up our lunch. So I went to heat up our lunch. And remember now, he's 55 in excellent health. I come back with our lunch, and he's dead.
Wow.
He's
I know
dead.
that's tough. That had to be tough.
He was foaming at the mouth, blue, unresponsive. I called 911. They took him to the nearby hospital. Everyone knew him, from the janitor to the receptionist to the nurses to the doctors. When I got there, everyone was crying.
Yes,
they worked on him for 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And I even told them, I said, everyone, we had people on the ground praying for him. And I said, we need to stop.
Wow.
So what happened after that, that was Friday. And then on Monday, Sunday was Father's Day. Then on Monday, I went to the mortuary to make funeral arrangements. And then Tuesday, I was seeing patients in the office, trying to figure out what to do with his patients because they loved him. And then I had to keep my practice going. And then I had 2 employees who were really taking advantage of the situation.
Oh no.
So I went through my second bout of depression. And after 3 months of this, I forgot to tell you, 1 week after he died, my rental lease was up on July 1st. So they came to me and they said, Dr. Wee, we're going to more than double your rent. And you're going to have to sign for 5 or 10 years.
Woo! Wow.
And I cried and I said, my husband died last week. They said, we know that. So
wow.
You can go month to month for 1 year. After that, you're out.
Wow.
That's what I was faced with. And my 4 adult children told me, you know what, Mom? So I was 54. They said, Mom, forget it. Just quit being a doctor. I don't know how else to do anything else.
Right.
My gut feeling was I need to find something. And so for 3 months, I kept thinking about this. And eventually what happened is after 3 months, I went on my hands and knees one night. I couldn't sleep again. And I said, God, if you exist, show me a sign. 5 days later, I get a call from my psychiatrist. She says, there's this lady office manager who's applying for my want ad, but I told her that you need an office manager. And so I'm not going to hire her. You should go and hire her.
Wow.
And she came to me and she looked me in the eye and she said, I can turn your practice around. I'll be a consultant. You don't have to pay me until you get back on your feet.
Wow.
But
amazing.
Before we go any further, may I pray for you? She asked permission.
Amazing. So God showed you that he is a very, very real God, even in the midst of everything that you had just experienced, coming back from this vacation, and then all of a sudden just losing your husband unexpectedly,
Yes.
losing
Yeah.
your husband. And then not even 2 days later, you were still in your practice trying to pull things together because he had his own practice. And then you have yours over here. I can only imagine, what that was like and what kind of pressure you were under. And so it's a good thing you didn't go under, but you were able to weather through all of that. And then, even the landlords or whoever you're leasing to, seeing an opportunity to get more money out of you. You know what I mean? Hey, we're going to go up. Double the rate, really?
So what I did is right up the road, there was a 3,000 square foot brand new office space undergoing foreclosure.
Okay.
So it was, I don't know, 700,000. And I said, if the bank will loan me money, I'm going to go for it. So they lent me that initial 700,000. Then I had to borrow another 700,000 to design and construct. And so we just celebrated our 11th anniversary, and we are booming.
Wonderful.
So God is good. And
absolutely.
Other colleagues say, Theresa, how do you do that? And, I don't know how, but I tell people, God said, you're not done yet. I still have work for you to do. And
that's it.
The silver lining is I would never be doing any of this. So throughout this time, my passion has been to help the obese children, and also their parents and grandparents. And so what I did is immediately my office manager, her oldest daughter was obese. And so together, she was the first person who looked at me and said, what is your passion? I said, my passion is to help obese children. She said, okay, let's do it. So working 6 days a week, on Saturday afternoon from 1 to 3, I gathered volunteers and we had family obesity workshops where.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I would ask parents on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you for change? If they said 9 or 10, you're in the workshop. They would have to sign a contract where the parents, normal weight kids, nanny, grandparents in that situation would all have to attend. So actually it got the notice of insurance companies. This was all free.
Yeah.
But I was trying to get insurance companies to really help me pay for all of this, but it was never a go. Wow. But anyway,
that's impressive, Dr. Wee. Impressive. Listen, I want you to tell our viewing audience today where they can go and find your books. I'm telling you, I know that this is going to help all of the listeners out here, and you've shared some very deep stuff with us. So tell us how they can get your books today.
It's on Amazon, or you can go to my website, www.authortheresawee.com. But in this book, after a while, you just burn out. And I had to stop because all the neighboring communities were coming to me. I said, you're not even my patient. Go talk to your doctor.
But it's because you have such a servant's heart, Dr. Theresa. You have a servant's heart.
But I couldn't do it anymore. I was burning out. But anyway, this little book has all of the workshop ideas in it. And people can just pick it up and open it up and start with whatever chapter you think is relevant for your family. Now, after I stopped doing the family workshops, I wanted to do something to reach out to the community. So that's where I started my nonprofit organization, Walk with a Doc, a doctor, not a dog. And so I've been doing this for 9 years.
Okay.
I meet every Saturday at the park. It's free for all ages, all fitness levels. I always start with a health tip. So today, I have a health tip. We warm up. We have 3 walking routes. We cool down, and I have fruit refreshments. So I have been doing this for 9 years.
All right.
Corporate sponsor. Walk with a Doc is an international organization in over 35 countries and almost 600 walking groups. So for all of our listeners out there, go look up, even North Carolina, where you are, probably has a Walk with a Doc group. So I encourage everyone to just go and see if there's a walking group, because it has been such a wonderful event. It helps people take that first step. And Absolutely. I've had people come back that I don't see anymore, and they're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and running marathons, and they are so thankful that they were able to become educated and empowered and get that kick in the butt from me.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wee, we have a question up here. So Michelle Hyde is asking, what are your ways in combating the public health crisis that are still occurring to this day?
You know, that's a very complex question with complex answers. I just tell people, you know, we all want instant results quickly, but you know, old habits are hard to change. So if it's you want to lose weight, I really talk to people about ways, motivational ways to change habits. Sometimes if you just want to get started, I tell people look up the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins says, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if it's you're going to go walking, just catapult yourself out of that lazy boy chair and do it. Once you're in motion, you're going to just keep moving. So that is a wonderful, Mel Robbins, it's one of the 5-second rule. It's one of the most watched TED Talks that's helped millions of people worldwide.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to go and look it up myself too.
You go from an idea into action. A lot of times we just need to move into action.
Right. You're absolutely right about taking action for sure. Yeah. Well, listen, next, we're going to go ahead and jump into our hashtag activity real quick. And so if we can go ahead and flash up our first word. And so you're going to talk to us about family wellness.
You know, and this is so important. I think that our nation is as strong as our family unit.
Yes.
I don't like to see families divorces, families breaking apart. I really encourage my young parents, even when the baby's 2 months old, I ask the dad, when was the last time you went out on a date?
Right.
Took your wife out.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I also ask them, you know, when was the last time you said something kind to your children or to your spouse?
Excellent stuff.
When was the last family dinner you had?
Yes.
Do you have a regular family eye-to-eye talk time? So I think it's so important, you know, that really it goes back to what God intended. Mother, father, you know, the parents, they need to be on the same page. The children are not above parents. Children don't get equal votes in this. When I was growing up, I was telling you, this is dinner, kids. You got 2 choices, take it or leave it. And I got to eat really weird stuff because I was hungry and I knew there were no snacks. There's no ice cream or juices later.
Wow,
so to me, family wellness, as parents, we need to be the role models.
Yes.
No matter what we're saying, children are going to follow what we do, our actions.
That's it. You're absolutely right, Dr. Wee. And, you know, I mentioned that too in my book. I give wisdom nuggets after every chapter, you know, in my book. And so that's one of the things too that I give as a nugget. You know, you have got to spend time with your spouse, you know, and your children. And that time together isn't just riding in the car on your way to church or on the way somewhere. You've got to take out time, set a day, you know, that you're going to go on a date with your wife, your husband, or whatever, as well as having that family time for your children as well, with all of you together. And,
Yeah.
back in the day, families used to sit down at the table, and I love looking at movies now where everybody's around the table. There's no cell phones out on the table or anything like that. Now everybody's got a phone. So now we try to say, okay, listen, put your phone down. Everybody put your phone down over here, and we're just going to communicate. We're going to enjoy one another. And I think that's important. So I appreciate you saying
So
that.
one of the things that we did as a family, what we did is we would 5 minutes before the 4 kids were going to sleep, all 6 of us would sit down and we talk about the day. And even when the kids were teenagers, I know my oldest would go, "Mom, I'm already a senior. You got to be kidding me."
Yeah, sound like mine. My oldest, oh my gosh, Mom, please don't pray for a long time.
But do you know, now they're in their 30s and 40s, and my kids said, that was a good way to understand what was going on. We could have family discussions. We would know what was going on with everyone.
Right.
It was, to this day, we're very bonded. And I think just 5 minutes a day is something that we should prioritize.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the next hashtag. It's obesity crisis. Talk to us about that.
Well, as I mentioned, obesity crisis, it's a big problem. We're seeing it in not only adults, but in children. And again, it's a very complex situation. But when I talk to families, I tell them, each family is different. Perhaps one of the major causes of pediatric obesity now are the sugar sweetened beverages.
Yes.
So
definitely.
I tell parents, if that's a big problem, why don't you say, for the next 2 weeks, let's work on this. Let's, instead of 2 sodas a day, let's drink 1 soda a day. Just little itty bitty steps. Maybe you just have an exercise, and
absolutely.
Just tell, sit down with your family, say, you know what? I heard this talk, and what if we do 5 minutes of walking after dinner? Just get a ridiculously small goal. And after a week, mark it on your calendar. After 7 red X's, you're going to say, you know what? Let's go 10 minutes. 5 minutes is so easy.
Yes, I love that. All right.
And I think, when the whole family is encouraging one another and high-fiving, and it's just so, it feels
refreshing. It's refreshing.
And sometimes, with our families, the people we love the most, we can say the cruelest words.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the homeworks in our workshop, I would tell people, hey, I want your homework this week is to say 10 nice things to your mom, to your dad, to your sibling. And people thought it was so funny, but they would come back and the moms would say, oh, they thanked me for making my stew, or they thanked me for picking me up. It just makes you that heart of gratitude and kindness.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wee, let's get to our next hashtag for you.
Mental health. Mental health is connected to our body health. Right now, there's, in this world, I don't know, I turn on, sometimes I can't watch the news. There's so much news that causes me stress. Stress will increase our adrenaline and cortisol, and that in turn affects our body, causes fatty liver, insulin resistance. So sometimes I choose to selectively hear some news, but otherwise I try to turn on music after a long day, or journaling, something more positive.
Right.
So I do think that mental health is a big issue right now. And
yes,
one of the things that I think will really help people, this is a social connections. We really need to reach out to our loved ones. I know a lot of us are separated, but my daughter, she's lived in New York for 12 years now, but we FaceTime almost every other day. In fact, my 3 sons live in Hawaii. I think I see her more often than I see them. But I think the social connections are so important, and to have that support when we need it.
Mhm.
I also tell people, even the superficial social connections, like saying hi to the cashier who's having a bad day,
Absolutely.
or I know the mailman or my FedEx guy.
Mhm.
If I'm walking in the park, I'll just say good morning.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it helps them, but it also
I was
helps
just getting
you.
ready to say that. Yeah. You don't ever know who needs that hug, that smile, that warm welcome, hello, or whatever. Nobody could have spoke to them, but you
Yeah.
did, with the
And
perfect spirit
I
and
think it
smile.
sends ripples. It sends ripples.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's a comment from Zeniki. They said, as someone who lost a loved one because of mental health issues, your advocacy and passion really touched my heart. I wish that loved ones could have gotten the help they needed sooner. This is so great. And this is why we're doing this. Okay. Alexis, what is our next hashtag for Dr. Wee? All right. It's self-care.
Self-care, especially for women. you know, my whole life, taking care of kids, you got to take care of your husband, you got to
Mm-hmm.
take care of your patients. You
Mm-hmm.
know, no one thinks about taking care of yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even the airlines tell you, put on your oxygen mask before
Mm-hmm.
helping your child, because if you have nothing in you, you cannot help other people if you are on empty.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I really set that a priority. I don't know, it takes, especially us women, it takes us a while to kind of eventually figure that out, but now, I really try to prioritize. I don't have to get the whole list done. I'm going to do something I enjoy today. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take me time. I'm going to go for a walk, even though there's a lot of things to do. But
Absolutely.
but it's taken many years to get me there. And I talk
Mm-hmm.
to young folks, and I tell them, please take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are not a superman or a superwoman. At some point, you're going to come to a breaking point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like people are trying to juggle 6 balls in
Mm-hmm.
the air. At some
Absolutely.
point, it's going to fall.
Absolutely. You're so right about that, Dr. We absolutely. And I saw a comment from Audrey Bell who said, I finally learned self-care, and that's so important, and we women, we can, we're so busy taking care of everyone else, and
Exactly.
anything else that we do lose sight of that most important person, and that
Mhm.
is yourself. How good are you going to be for someone else if you have not taken that time for yourself? All right. What is our last hashtag for Dr. Wee? All right, spirituality.
Spirituality. I grew up, my dad was Catholic. His parents were Buddhist, but my dad went to a Catholic schools, and so that influenced going to a Catholic school. And God was always there, but during college and medical school, you're not really thinking about it. I really think the first, and when our children were growing up, we would go to church every Sunday, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only when my husband passed away. I don't know why this has to be, but I was at the lowest point I could ever get in my
I
life,
can imagine.
and
Yes.
there was nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I had to lean so hard on God
Mm-hmm.
and my faith, and all along he was there with me. And
Sure.
I truly had to discover that for myself. And you know, since my husband has passed away, I do think that the only reason why I continue moving forward is I truly believe that God brings people and situations to me. Um, if if there's lessons to learn, I'll learn them.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
I try to take it one day at a time. It has not always been easy. There have
Right.
been many ups and downs.
Yeah, sure.
People say, "Oh, look, you have a beautiful." It has not always been easy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to stay in the straight and narrow, and continue to do his will, because I do think that there's more work for me to do. I mean, even writing a book, it kept coming back over and over. And I said, no, really? I can't. I don't want to. I don't have time.
I feel you on that. My sentiments exactly. When it just keeps coming back, you're like, no, I don't want to do that right now.
but when something comes back over and over. So people were asking me what my next project is. I have a heart to reach nationally, internationally.
Internationally, yes.
To spread the word about healthy eating, about the importance of family. And I'm looking into doing maybe 5 or 10-minute podcasts, professionally done.
Okay. Yeah, good.
To really reach the children and families on their iPads.
Yeah, hey, that's where they're hanging out now. So everything else is popping up. So why not have Dr. Wee pop up?
Exactly. Turn off your screen.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wee, I have one more question for you. I know we're just about out of time, and I've certainly have appreciated you sharing in a place of transparency and candidness tonight. So if I could ask you, can you cite any part of the book that stands out to you the most?
My COVID-19 diary. I did have a hard time writing about the sudden death of my husband, but I do think that was such a pivotal turning point. And I continue to share this story with others because I want people to know that no matter how bad or how hopeless things look, you have to have faith. And I think for me, that pivotal point, I literally, I could have stopped. I could have just stopped living. But I remember a good dear friend came to me and said, I knew your husband and he would want you to continue living your life. And I think he so far what you're doing, I'm sure he would be proud of you.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to the time when I see him again and he'll say, you did good. You did good without me.
Absolutely. Well, you have a comment here from Olivia Brown who said, absolutely, a podcast sounds fantastic. I'm all ears. So see, you've already got your first listener. Well, your second too, because I would be listening and tuning in too. Absolutely. So let's take a look at some more comments. We had a couple things flashing up while we were doing the interview. And so I wanted to, of course, read some of those, and there might be some questions therefore that you can answer. All right, so Amanda said, how did you practice your advocacy, especially during the height of the pandemic?
So when I was writing the blogs, like I would tell people, hey guys, even though we have a pandemic, you can go out in nature and sunshine and get some exercise because you're out in the open air. So again, I would practice these different ideas that I was posting, because who wants to listen to a doctor who doesn't even listen to their own advice? And
absolutely.
Like sometimes you go to a doctor and that doctor looks horrible, like overweight, tired, and I'm like,
like, how are you going to help me? Are you taking your own advice?
So
you don't want me to eat ice cream?
But yeah, the pandemic, it was very interesting for all of us. And, I just tried to do the best that I could to help others. And again, my COVID-19 diary really has mental health tips, physical health tips, just ideas that were swirling in my head that I wanted to share with others. And
absolutely. Well, we're so grateful that you did. We're so grateful that you did. All right, we've got Donald who said, Dr. Theresa, could you give me some helpful tips on maintaining proper hygiene?
Proper hygiene. So I'm not sure if that means, so, there's sleep hygiene. So one of the things I always preach is 7 days a week. In order for our bodies to function correctly, we need to consider 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
We need to consider watching our screen time,
Okay.
exercising, getting good sleep, and I think if we can follow a schedule, that's why I think it's so crucial for our children to see us in our routines, because
Mm-hmm.
when they go to school, the only way they're going to learn and thrive is if they're in excellent physical health.
Mm-hmm.
So what we all need to do, I'm talking to you parents, is to sit down and say 7 days a week, this is our goal. We are going to really work on planning for the week ahead. If we don't plan, Thursday night strolls around, oh, let's go to McDonald's, so plan your week. That's what I used to do on Sundays. I'd get my kids to come and help me food prep. We would make enough food for the 5 days, all these little Tupperware containers and freezer things. So when we talk about hygiene, I don't know if that's what you meant, but it's just having routines and schedules and really trying to stick with the structure as much as possible.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have some more comments in here. Let's see what's next. And, I'm glad you said that about screen time, because I be on my children a lot about that screen time. You wake up with the phone, you go to sleep with the phone.
Yes.
I'm like, listen, get that screen out of your face, okay? All right, so let's see. Zixlad, have you thoughts of writing/publishing a children's book about health since you work with kids?
You're the first one to suggest it. Maybe I can, with my podcast, I can have an accompanying book or work.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's a great idea. Great idea.
You
All right,
guys are giving me ideas.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We love it. All right. What other comments do we have?
But I am going to be for a roundtable discussion this coming Friday, February 2nd, 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. The topic will be unleashing your healthiest self.
Ooh, at 1:00. Okay.
Yeah, so 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be a roundtable discussion with 8 other authors.
Right.
And I'm the
What day
moderator.
is that, though? What day is yours?
Yeah,
What day, Dr. Wee? What day?
It's Friday, February 2nd.
February 2nd. Okay. All right. I am going to see if I can get in there. I know I have something on Friday too. I think mine's that evening. So I'm going to be tuned in. Look, and John said, don't y'all go. Y'all have great chemistry here. They don't want the session to end. Well, we've got about 4 more minutes left. Let's see. Dr. Donald, he also placed another comment. Well, it just left. Okay. So
he said, do I have new tips for writers?
Okay, good. You saw it. I didn't get it.
Yeah. No. So what my advice is, Donald, is if you have an idea and it just keeps coming back and it's something that's unique and could help others, I say go for it. You never know who you're going to help. And I do think if it's your passion and there's a story to tell about it, do it.
Absolutely.
Don't hesitate, because you don't want to be at your deathbed saying, I should have, I could have, I would have.
That's right.
Regrets.
That's right. I couldn't agree with you more, Dr. Wee. So I will piggyback out on that and say, absolutely do it. If it keeps coming to you, you have to do it. God's not going to leave you alone until you do it. Until you do it. And so most definitely do it, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear it. So just like Jesus, he went to go find the one that was lost, right? And so if you just go reach one with your story, then you have done what you needed to do. So definitely get it out there. Do we have any more comments? We've got just a few seconds, I think, left. Let me read through some of these real quick. All righty. They said just the right advice. All right. From Ahoy Slacker. Yeah, just the right advice. This has been excellent. What else do we have? Uh-oh. All right. Nita Wilder commented, your passion and story are truly inspiring. I'm so glad I tuned in. Look at this, Dr. Wee. Plus the chemistry between the both of you is just pure gold. Oh, that's so sweet. Yes, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to have her on the Tish Barnhart show too.
I just met Tish.
Yes. Okay. Donald said, thank you, Dr. Wee. I really appreciate it. Yes, they are loving this content that you have given us today. What else do we have?
Thank you, Tish. You are wonderful. And
Yes,
I look forward to talking with you some more. But please, everyone, join me on Friday, February 2nd at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm also having live author booth sessions next week. I'm going to talk about stress management, fatty liver, intermittent fasting. So my live booth sessions are 5 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
So join me. I did it this past week, and people enjoyed it. I talked about sleep, nutrition, social connections.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wee, this has been a fabulous, fabulous author after hour interview with you. And I want to thank you so much for your time. And thank you for allowing Reader's Magnet and the Festival of Storytellers to have you here. This has been so amazing. So thank you again. And everybody, make sure to go to www.festivalofstorytellers.com. You can see all about every author that is on there. And you can also see Dr. Wee's schedule in there, and you can see mine too. And so listen, we are super, super excited. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Bye now.
Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher. It is about us, the authors.